Join Douglas Wilson, Dr. Joseph Boot, Brian Sauvé, Eric Kahn, and myself on March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd for our 2024 conference. It's called Blueprints for Christendom 2.0. Our early bird pricing ends on Thursday, August 31st. So go and visit rightresponseconference.com to register today. We hope to see you at the conference in March.
God placed dragons and giants in this world precisely so that we can slay them. That's why they're here. Like sometimes, I forget who said it. I think it was at a Grace Agenda conference at Christ Church. But somebody was talking about education and classical education and training children. And they said, it's nerve-wracking as a parent, thinking that the world that we grew up in is not the world that our children are growing up in. That things were, there was always sin, but things are far less safe today than they were 50 years ago, than they were even just 20 years ago. Right? I mean, even with your children playing outside, there's certain precautions you have to take that when you were a kid, your parents didn't take. And it's not because your parents were negligent. It's not because they didn't love you. It's because the world was safer. So you could just go out and run around and do this and do that and be home by, the mom comes out with a dinner bell or whatever. You're home by 5 and nobody's worried. Nobody's worried about kidnapping or this or, God forbid, whatever. But the world is different. The world has become dangerous. And in this conference and talking about, training children and classical education, it was really encouraging because it's easy to just be hopeless, right? The first option that you have, kind of like red pill, blue pill, and I'm talking about like the Matrix analogy, Neo. You can take the blue pill and you'll go back to sleep, get plugged back up into the Matrix and just ignore all the problems in the world, right? That's if you take the blue pill. The red pill is you're going to get unplugged from the Matrix and you're going to know all the problems. And that's been happening these last few years. In a proverbial sense, a lot of people are taking that red pill and waking up. And they're like, oh my goodness. Like we were asleep at the wheel for a long time, but there's some nefarious players in this game, and this is happening, that's happening. We were lied to about this. The difference between a conspiracy and the truth is approximately 3 to 6 months. Like people are waking up. People are waking up. Here's the problem though. People who are taking this red pill and waking up, it's quickly followed by a black pill. A lot of people are waking up. You talk to them or you read them on social media or whatever, and all they talk about is just how things are hopeless. And if they have any hope at all, it's in a rapture. Jesus is going to come back and rapture us, and it's probably going to be in the next 20 to 30 minutes. And that's it. That's the only hope. Everything that they say, this is happening, it's going to happen. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It's going to get really bad. In fact, it's going to get worse. And it's like, but we pat ourselves on our back and we pride ourselves, not because we're strong, not because we have a plan, not because we could win, but just because we know. Like, hey, follow me. Why? You have a plan for victory? No, because I know how bad things are and I know the most bad things. Like the entire ministries, entire organizations, entire social media pages, all websites and institutes, all geared around that. That's just the conservative playbook. What do the conservatives do? Conservatives boast in being fully aware about how we're going to lose. We're losing now. We're also going to lose a little bit later, and we're going to lose precisely in this way, and blah, 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 blah. And we don't build. We beg. We beg for donations. We sound the alarm for boycotts. So the playbook for conservatives is this. Number one, and you can't skip this step. It's imperative to the conservative playbook. Get beat, lose. And conservatives are fantastic at that. So first you lose, you get beat. Then you bemoan, you complain about how bad the world. Then you beg, right? You beg for donations. You boycott, right? And then you get beat again. And it's a cycle and it starts back over. That's it. But for those of us who have a hopeful eschatology, those of us who believe that Christ wins, and not winning despite a weak, shriveling church, but that he wins actually progressively throughout human history through his church, that I will build, not just sustain my church as it's on the ropes, but I'll actually build, advance, increase my church. And the gates of Hades, meaning hell is on the defensive. Gates are not weaponry, they're defensive measures. The church is on the offense. It's building and growing, and hell on the defense. Its gates will not be able to sustain the battering ram of the church of Jesus Christ as he builds it. Those of us who believe that way, that the church, Christ is victorious through the church. If you're a Christian, you believe Christ wins. The question is this: do you believe Christ wins despite a losing church, or Christ wins progressively throughout human history through a building church? I believe the latter. So for us, we've taken the red pill. We don't believe this because we're naive. We don't think, hey, we're winning because we're ostriches with our head in the sand, and we don't know about, the World Economic Forum, and we don't know about this, and we don't know. No, we know. We're aware. Things are bad. We get it. But at a certain point, you got to move the conversation from things are bad to how do we win? How do we win? The red pill is necessary. Don't take a blue pill and go to sleep again and get plugged back. You got to take the red pill. But here's the vital piece of information that a lot of evangelicals are missing. You follow up the red pill, not with the black pill of despair, but with the white pill of hope. That Christ wins through his church. And that's what we see with Israel. Israel doesn't just attack, but they run them down. They finish the fight. They don't just leave in the name of empathy, in the name of love, in the name of inclusion, in the name of this, in the name of that. They don't leave their enemies to regroup and regather and multiply and strengthen and then take them out at a future time. No, they finish the fight. And God, the whole reason why the Son, I don't want us to miss this, the reason why God actually answers a man, it's a big deal. That Joshua, the Lord, it says, never since that day has the Lord heeded the word of a man. Think about why. The whole reason God, the God of the universe, heeded the word of a man to stop the sun and the moon in the sky, to lengthen the day. There's one reason, so that his enemies could be further slaughtered. So we're talking about a miraculous, unique event in all of biblical history with the sole purpose of more killing of bad guys. That's the purpose. Why? Because God is glorious and he loves his people. That's why. God is glorious and he loves his people. And he does not want his people to be slaughtered in the future because they wounded the snake but didn't cut off its head. Because they gave certain blows but not the death blow. And I'm not advocating to take this in a literal sense. I'm not talking about taking up arms. Again, disclaimer. What I'm saying, though, is that as Christians, when it comes to legislation, when it comes to culture, when it comes to education, when it comes to family, when it comes to doctrine, when it comes to sin in our own individual lives, as we seek to mortify sin in sanctification at every level, let's give the death blow. Don't be satisfied to sequester and subdue and quarantine sin. Kill it. Don't be satisfied to say, well, we've got a heartbeat law. No. Abolish abortion. Don't be satisfied to say, well, our public school's not too bad. I mean, they teach some evolution and there's no mention of Jesus. The last teacher that mentioned Jesus, she got fired. But no. Christian education. There is no neutral. At every level, run them down. That's what the Israelites did. That's why God stopped the day, simply so that there would be more time for his children to run down their adversaries, to thoroughly defeat them, so that his people might flourish in the land. And that's what we're called to do in a political sense, a cultural sense, a spiritual sense, a moral sense in our own lives and sanctification at every level. That is a lesson for us not to miss.